Joining me now is Doga Eralp. He's a professor at the School of International Service at American University here in Washington. Hearing Michal Bardavid and John Tarrant kind of break it down, two different stories there. You've got so many players. I mean, so many countries. It used to be like this proxy war. Now you have all these countries actually boots on the ground, all these groups. How do you come up with any kind of solution there?
Well, what we see now in Syria is really a growing confrontation between Russia and US, and they both support different groups who, and this what makes it quite complicated, sometimes get into coalitions with each other. So you may find certain Russian minions oftentimes collaborating with those who partner with the US and vice versa. So even though US and Russia may actually be engaged in Cold War style confrontation, then we also need to take into consideration local actors also don't want to sit still, and plus you have Iran and Turkey involved in it.
Yes, coming at it from all different angles. Let me share with you this. UNICEF recently sharing a one-sentence press release. It read, "No words will do justice to the children killed, their mothers, their fathers, and their loved ones." There was a footnote, UNICEF issuing a blank statement. "We no longer have the words to describe children's suffering and our outrage. Do those inflicting the suffering still have words to justify their barbaric acts?" And there it is. Very tough words, but it doesn't seem like the international community really has any way to do anything. And we're seeing so much suffering. It's getting far more brutal in many respects.
Syria is a tragedy. It's the tragedy of our times. And the human cost and the suffering is beyond words. And this has been going on now how many years, right? And the way it looks, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse till parties, that means Iran, Turkey, Syria, obviously the Assad regime, Free Syrian Army, other rebels, US and Russia really decides to get their act together. But till that, there is no incentive for any of the parties to really get onto the table as long as they believe they could win this war, regardless the human cost. It's that conviction in winning the war is really what gets this human cost to this degree now.
I want to get your thoughts on one other thing. Headline I picked up from Al Monitor, grieving Syrians forced to dig graves at night in besieged Ghouta. The story goes on to say that if you gather to dig the graves to bury your loved ones, you're a target during the daylight hours, and so they do it at night in the darkness. I think it really kind of illustrates what we're talking about. Is there any way to get any kind of humanitarian aid there? What about the people there in Ghouta, as they say, basically living in a hellish environment right now?
How awful is that, isn't it? And what makes Syria even more complicated is how different actors see folks like White Helmets who have been quite active on the ground, basically doing aid and providing first aid to those who get injured. Some actors, including Russia, see these actors as political tools of Free Syrian Army or even Al-Qaeda. So even there's a disagreement on which actors should be allowed in there. And ICRC is not necessarily allowed into that part of Syria in eastern Ghouta. And for that, there needs to be an agreement, some sort of ceasefire. And that needs to be agreed up in the United Nations Security Council. Yet we don't see that happening. So we're going to see more human loss.
It's so sad. Thank you so much for coming in and providing analysis. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.